Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So I'd like to offer my greetings and welcome everyone this evening. So I thought maybe I'd continue talking on one of the themes we spoke about last week and start with a bit of a story. So in its story from the Dhammapada commentary. So the Dhammapada is a collection of short teachings or short sayings from the Buddha. They're just a few lines long. And then a few hundred years after the time of the Buddha, a commentary was written on it. And so in the commentaries, they give stories or background stories to all of the different teachings in the Dhammapada. So sometimes scholars will just completely disregard these and just not pay attention to the Dhammapada commentary. Some people feel that it came so far afterwards, they don't know if the stories are real or not. But to me, it doesn't matter if they're real or not. Some of them are really good stories and can really help to illustrate some of the teachings which are made in these little utterances or verses from the Buddha. So in the time of the Buddha, there was this layman, and his name was Atula, and he was the head of a group of other lay people. So basically, like he was the head of a like a Dhamma group at the time. So one day he decided he wanted to take all these other lay people and go to the monastery and listen to some Dhamma. So the group got together, they went to the monastery, and they first went to see the venerable Revata. So venerable Revata, he was a real strict forest monk, and he really liked solitude. He really liked seclusion. He really liked quiet. So this group of lay people go to see him. They pay respects to him. They sit down, and the venerable Revata doesn't say anything. He just sits there quietly. So after some time, this layman Atula, he starts getting kind of frustrated and annoyed and unhappy with this. So him and the other lay people, they get up and they go and they find the venerable Sariputta. So they go to Sariputta, they pay respects to him, and Atula tells him what just happened. He said, "Oh, Venerable Sariputta, we came here to listen to some Dhamma. We went to see Venerable Revata, and he didn't even say anything. He just sat there quietly. Can you teach us some Dhamma?" So the Venerable Sariputta did. He gave them a very long Dhamma talk on Abhidhamma. So Abhidhamma is the really high, really intricate teachings of the Buddha. So this layman Atula, he was finding it very confusing, very difficult to understand, very complicated, and he just couldn't see how this could help him in his daily life. So again, he started getting frustrated and started getting unhappy and annoyed. So after Venerable Sariputta had finished talking, Atula and the other lay people, they got up and they went in search of Venerable Ananda. So they go to Venerable Ananda, they pay respects to him, and they sit down, and Atula tells him everything which has happened. He said, "Oh, Venerable Ananda, we came here to listen to some Dhamma. First thing, we go to see Venerable Revata, and he just doesn't even say a thing. And then we go see Venerable Sariputta, and we told him what happened with Venerable Revata. And so he gave us a talk, but it was really long and it was complicated, and I couldn't really understand it, and I didn't see how practical it was for me in my daily life. Can you give us a Dhamma talk?" So Venerable Ananda gives them a Dhamma talk, and it's a really good Dhamma talk, and it's very practical, and these very explained very well, easy to understand, and very practical things which can help them in their daily lives. But it was a very short talk, which again made this layman Atula annoyed and frustrated and unhappy. So when it was finished, Atula and the other lay people, they get up and they go and they find the Buddha. So they find the Buddha, they sit down, and they explain the whole situation again. We went to see Venerable Revata. He didn't say anything. We went to see Venerable Sariputta, and he gave a really, really long talk on Abhidhamma. It was complicated, hard to understand. And then we went and found Venerable Ananda, and he gave us a really good talk, but it was really short. And to this, the Buddha responded, it's been like this since ancient times. Those who say nothing are criticized. Those who speak a lot are criticized. And those who speak little are criticized. All people are criticized. And I think this is a really great story and a really good teaching of the Buddha, because he's really emphasizing and teaching here that being criticism is an inevitability of life. This is just something which is going to happen to us in our lives. So, no matter how much we try to impress everybody, how much we try to make people happy, no matter how well we do things, at some point we're all going to be criticized. Even the Buddha was criticized. And it's not a personal thing. This is just something which happens in life. But we take it very personally. And because a lot of these inevitabilities in life we take personally, old age, sickness, death, loss, all these things, we take personally, but they're just uh, they're just inevitabilities of life. They're just the nature of life. And so when we take criticism personally, it can be very painful. It can be very unpleasant. We can feel hurt. We can feel belittled. We can feel humiliated. We can feel angry. A lot of times there's even like a lot of physical manifestations in the body of these feelings. We may feel tightness in our chest. We may feel our hearts racing. We may feel tension and tightness in the body. The body just stiffens up. So a lot of times everyone around us can even see when we've been hurt by criticism. When I was living with Lumpur Biak, there was this one layman who came to visit Lumpur Biak. And this layman was a Westerner, and he had been a monk for many, many years. And then a couple years before this happened, he had disrobed. So he was coming as a layman, and he came in, went to see Lumpur Biak, and he bowed to Lumpur Biak. Because normally what we do as monks, when a more senior monk comes, or in Thailand, lay people as well, when they go see a senior monk, they always bow as a sign of respect. And in the tradition I'm ordained in, the tradition of Lumpur Cha, we're very particular about this and the way we bow. And when we're getting trained, we're trained to really bow properly and a proper way to do it. So this layman who had been a monk before, bowed, but he did it very sloppy. And Lumpur Biak just said to him, he's like, "You were a monk for so many years, and this is how you bow?" And this layman got offended, really offended. You could see it in his body. He just completely stiffened up. And, I was sitting right there and could very clearly see how offended he was. And so a lot of times we take this personally and we get uh, quite offended. And like I said, you can see it in your body. And then what happens is when these words that other people say, criticisms, anything like that, when they do affect us, what's happening is we're giving this person a lot of control over us, that they can control our moods and our mind states with just one word or just one sentence. Just we could be having a great day, everything's going well, and then one criticism, one comment, and boom, everything's changed. We're angry, we're upset, our whole day can be ruined by this. So we've given them this power over us, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to let other people have control of our moods and our mind states. We want to be in control of our own minds, which sounds great, right? But how do we do that? um So the first thing and the most important thing is to really have mindfulness and really work at having established mindfulness and continued mindfulness. Because when we don't have mindfulness, our minds are very easily moved around and blown back and forth by external circumstances. But when we have our mindfulness, our mind is going to be much more solid, much more firm and secure. And it'll be like we've stepped back. So we're not so involved in everything around us. We have a bit of distance. And so instead of just reacting all the time, we have we're not as so affected that we're able to act and use more intentional action. And the other thing is we're able to see these mindfulness, these mind states coming up, these different moods coming up. We can see them much quicker. So the quicker we see them, the quicker we can get rid of them and we can take care of them. But the longer it is, the more the stronger they become. So you see, sometimes it's a very someone says something to us, and very quickly it's a strong response we have. But a lot of times it'll be someone will criticize us, and at first it's not so bad. It's just, oh, can't believe he said that. But then we start thinking about it, we start proliferating about it. And over time, we're getting more and more angry, more and more worked up, more and more hurt. So what we want to do is when it's just little, and just starting off, that's we can catch it and cut it off quickly before it gets very bad. So one of the techniques for this, one of the teachings Ajahn Chah used to give was he said, if someone calls you a dog, check to see if you have a tail. So in Thailand, calling someone a dog is a much heavier insult than it is in Western countries. So like calling someone a dog, that's almost like fighting words, you know. But he said, so if someone calls you a dog, check to see if you have a tail. So if someone criticizes you on something, check to see if what they said is true or not. So you know, so if it isn't true, you know, then, well, whatever, it doesn't matter. The joke's on this guy. He got it wrong. He told me I was doing something and I wasn't. But if it is true, then again, the joke's on him because he's actually helped us out by pointing out something we're doing wrong or somewhere where we have a blind spot. They're actually helping us because they're helping show this to us so that we're able to fix it. We're able to improve this. So even though their intentions may be completely bad, and you know their intentions is to try to hurt us or embarrass us or put us down, they've actually helped us because they've shown us something that we weren't seeing, that we didn't know about. So so we can just remember that, you know, just check to see if what they're saying about us is true or not. One of the other things we can do is we can reflect on because sometimes when it does come on, you want to act and you want to respond, and you can reflect on what will happen if I respond. What will the results of me doing something be? So, for example, if someone at work, your boss criticizes you and you get angry and you want to lose your temper at him, um, you just think, okay, well, what's the result of this? If I say something or I do something, what will come of this? Because a lot of times you get that moment of anger and you want to act on it, but it can have really long lasting negative effects. So, you know, if your boss criticizes you and you yell at him back, or you insult him, or you hit him, you can lose your job. You can have a police record. It's something which can affect you over a long period of time. So we can just think about this, think about the results of what's going to happen. One of the other things we can do is we can try to reflect on impermanence. So, you know, when someone said something to us and it comes up strong like that, um, you know, it feels very permanent. It feels real. It feels like this is the only thing which is going on in the world right now. And but just remember, this is impermanent. You know, it'll happen, it'll arise, it'll pass away. You know, someone criticizes us, says something to us. You know, if we don't act on it and just brush it off, you know, in an hour, We might forget. A week, 2 weeks later, no one's going to remember it even happened, if we haven't made a bigger issue out of it. And we can ask ourselves, when that strong feeling of being offended, being hurt comes up, you can ask yourself, oh, how does this feel? Have I felt like this before? Was it permanent once I started feeling like that? Did I always feel like that, or did it change? And you can just ask yourself these questions because, most of us, yeah, we have felt that way before. And we felt that way for a bit, but then it went away. So by reflecting in this way, we don't get too drawn into it. And also, we don't have to respond. If someone says or something to us, which is a criticism, a lot of times, we feel that we have to do something back. We have to say something back. We just can't let it slide. We have to react. But it's perfectly fine not to. There was this time, this story from the Buddha, where I think he was a Brahmin, went up to the Buddha. The Buddha was just sitting there, and this Brahmin comes up and just starts insulting the Buddha and swearing at him and saying all this awful stuff to the Buddha. And the Buddha just sat there, just not bothered and just sat there, not saying anything. And then afterwards, the Brahmin was like, well, why didn't you say anything? Why aren't you responding? And the Buddha was like, okay, Brahmin. So you sometimes have people over to your house to eat, right? The Brahmin's like, yeah, of course. And the Buddha's like, okay, when they come over, you offer them food and you offer them presents and stuff, right? The Brahmin's like, well, of course I do. And the Buddha was like, so if they don't accept those presents, if they don't accept those food, who does it belong to? And the Brahmin's like, well, it would still belong to me. And the Buddha was like, well, it's the same here. You're offering these to me, but I'm not accepting them. So they still belong to you. And so we can just keep stuff like that in mind that, it's their words. It's more of a reflection of them than it is of us. And also, if we're going into a situation which we know is going to be difficult, we know we're going to be getting criticized, we know people are going to say stuff that is going to upset us. So, for example, if we're going into some kind of big meeting, um, or we're going to go see that one person we know, that one relative or one friend who we know just gets under our skin or says something to us, we can prepare ourselves beforehand and just be ready for it. Be like, okay, I'm ready for this. I know this is what's going to happen, and just be prepared. So it'd be kind of like the similar to like when a boxer goes into the ring. It's not like they're walking down the street not expecting anything. They're going into the ring. They're ready. They're ready for the punches to come flying at them. So it's the same with us. We don't want to do any punches, but we're ready when we prepare ourselves to these situations. The same as like we're going into a ring. We're going to get into these difficult situations. But then if someone has criticized us and has hurt us, and we're starting to develop a grudge, or we start to have a lot of negativity towards them, we want to be able to get rid of that. We don't want to hold on to that negativity or that grudge to another person, because when we do that, we're only hurting ourselves, and we're the ones who are going to suffer over that. So the Buddha taught us these 5 little techniques to try to get rid of a grudge. So one of the things we can do is we can develop metta or loving kindness towards that person, or we can develop karuna or compassion towards that person, or we can develop what's called upekkha or equanimity towards the situation. Or if it's really bad, we can just avoid that person. Um, and then the last one was, we can just reflect on karma. Whatever they're doing, they're making bad karma, also known as karma, bad karma, and they're gonna receive the results of it. I don't want to make bad karma because I don't want to receive the results of that. So these are just some little tools for us for working with if we start developing grudge or strong feelings against somebody. But one of the really important things with this and with all these other practices in Buddhism and is that they take time. These are skills. And so we have to be really patient with ourselves and keep working at them and keep putting the effort into developing them. So, all our lives leading up to this point, for most people, we've been going in one way. So we have these habits of thinking, habits of acting. So now what we're doing is we're changing those habits, we're undoing them, and we're changing the way we're thinking, we're changing the way we're responding. So it takes time. And so it's really easy for us to start getting hard on ourselves, being self-critical. Oh, why isn't going quicker? Why aren't I doing better? But just look at the successes you are making. So in the beginning, maybe 10 times out of 10, you lose it. You get criticized and it gets to you and you get hurt or you get angry or whatever happens. But then you start practicing with it. And all of a sudden, it's only 9 times out of 10. There's that one time when, it happened and you were able to work on it. You were able to get through it. You were able to stick with Dhamma. And so congratulate yourselves on that. Be like, okay, I did a good job. That's improvement. And then over time, it'll be uh, 2 times out of 10 that you're successful, 3 times out of 10. It'll just get better and better. So I'd like to offer this to everyone as a bit of a reflection for this evening.